So we'll be starting off with the big stories here. And our talking point, we have a shopping list of stories here making rounds on the Daily Trust newspaper. But let's just talk about the most important ones here. And that's on the visit, the inauguration of multiple projects by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially as he made a visit to Enugu State. And we have the picture here, right, where we have um, four of them here. We have, let me just expand it for a bit here. Okay, so we have these three gentlemen, you know, wearing the cultural ishagu, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President Alex Oti, and the Speaker, House of Assembly. There too with him, and the Dave Umahi also there, with him. I was wondering why the governor of Anambra isn't here, and also Ebonyi is not equally here. I want to believe they would have all been here. As much as people would think I'm a strong critic of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, positive critic of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the reason I am a strong critic of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not just because I just want to criticize him like people would often do. I criticize him because I feel that the leader of any nation, owes his followers, so much. So when we do not see some of the things that we expect from our leader, it's on us, to ask the necessary questions. So whenever I talk about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, every time on Unscripted, I'm not doing that because I want him not to succeed. Of course, it's my desire that he succeeds. It's my responsibility as a citizen to pray for our president, but sometimes when they do not, do what is expected, it's upon us really, to talk about some of them. And I would love to especially congratulate His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for making this trip to Enugu. And that is very symbolic to the southeast of Nigeria, because before now, it's been believed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu do not like the southeast of Nigeria and has done everything possible to cut that region out of his agenda, out of his policies, and so on and so forth. So that is the conception, that is the perception and the belief by lots of people, though, even if it is not, and he has just showed that. And I would love to say that the president should at least make this visit a routine, rather than, get out to foreign countries, France, UK, Germany, and some other countries that he goes to often. Why not make it a routine in 2025 to visit states in Nigeria? He crisscrossed the length and the breadth of this country prior to elections, and right after then, 2 years down the line, he hasn't done so much of those crisscrossing again. And I think that is an ample opportunity for the president to do lots of visits to different states in the nation, just to see what is up with them, just to hear what their issues are, just to speak to the people, have this connection, because the truth remains that there is a very strong disconnect, with the presidency and the people. That's the reason why lots of people will think that the policies of the government does not speak to the generality of Nigerians, when policies are created without seeking the consent of people, and asking them if really those policies are good enough in development communication. That is just what it is. Getting the people what they need, not what they don't want. Right. So I would love to think and desire that the president should do more of this going around, visit all other places apart from places where the governor asks you to come. You take a visit to other states that necessarily the governors don't ask you to come. As the one of this country, it is the responsibility of the president of any nation to take a visit to anywhere he wants to. You don't necessarily need the governor to invite you. Take a visit to those places and get to see what's happening there. Ask questions, relate with the people, invite stakeholders in the system, and get to ask them what the problem is and how you can better solve the problem. Have a one-on-one, with the governors and major stakeholders in the state, so you can have an overview of what is happening there. And also, I love to use this opportunity to equally, encourage other southeastern governors, especially the government of Hope Uzodinma. I know he had equally in the past invited Muhammad Buhari, to come inaugurate some projects that we don't even know what the projects are about, and how it affects or impacts on the society. And I think inviting the president shouldn't just be to set an agenda or maybe prove a point. It should be targeted at achieving something. It should be targeted at achieving something, not just inviting because you want to show your opponents or the opposition that, hey, I can bring the president when I want to bring the president, but bring him because there's something substantial you want him to come inaugurate. Bring him because it's important for him to relate with the common people so he can feel the breath of the people and see what their issues and their problems are and how better to solve some of these things. So I think it's so important that to whom much is given, more is expected, or much is expected. The government and those who made it possible have made President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the president of this country. Much has been given to him. Much is equally expected from him. In serving the people, in serving Nigerians, the way they wish to be served. For some of us who love Nigeria so much, who I want to consider as patriots of this country, sometimes when we see the lopsidedness of our country and how that we are deficit in lots of things, infrastructure, in social, political, and all the things that are of importance to humankind, we rather weep for this country. Because when you take a look at other countries in the world, just a couple of days back, Tanzania, had to shut down some power plants in their country because they were oversupplying electricity. Tanzania had to shut down some of the power plants because they were oversupplying electricity. This is the kind of stories we love to hear in Nigeria, that some of our plants have been shut down, not because they aren't working, but because they are oversupplying electricity. Those are the kind of things we love to hear. And you think there wouldn't be development with such kind of stories or such kind of actions, hovering around our polity in this country. Of course, there would be development. And those are some of the things that we think and we hope and we pray that we see in Nigeria. So that's just my say on that particular matter. And I just hope, sincerely, that all other states, Soludo, it's someone that I had really wished, that he would have achieved so much. As a professor of macroeconomics, we have had the opportunity of teaching in many Ivy League schools around the world. We've had the opportunity of supervising many economies around the world. We've had the opportunity of supervising agencies in this country. I had taught so much, or had expected so much from Professor Chukuma Soludo. I had thought that when Chukuma Soludo, touches Anambra State, he would turn that state around. He would make the town or the state automatically a China or a Japan of Africa. I had thought that as a professor of macroeconomics, if Professor Chukuma Soludo, had, landed in Anambra, I had thought that Anambra would be one place that, in fact, if there were 100 millionaires, if there were 100 millionaires in dollars, I had thought that with Professor Chukuma Soludo, there will be about 1,000 millionaires in dollars because of his experience, his expertise, having controlled the CBN, having taught in many Ivy League schools as professor of economics. I had expected so much from him, but of course, Anambra is still what it is, So these are some of the things that I think are very important. If there's one person that we thought would have invited President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it would have been Professor Chukuma Soludo. But of course, you can only invite someone when you have something to show him. When you have something to show the world. But if you don't, you wouldn't, of course, want to, bring such a symbolic person, in the status of the president. So I as much as I congratulate Mba of Enugu State, I would equally love to encourage all the southeastern states, governor that is, Chukuma Soludo, Hope Uzodinma, of course, Alex Oti is doing awesomely well. Ebonyi, we had equally had expected so much from him too. Rather than doing that, I just learned he was busy, repairing the airport that nobody flies to. Some of those things that are some of the things that I think we all need to change, and if really we are interested in making our country a better place, and of course not to forget the northern part of Nigeria also, the northeast, northwest, north central. These are some of the things I feel the governors there should equally be encouraged to do. Put together things that people would be excited for, and have the president come visit. It's very so important. So that's all we had on that particular story.